No, I read it on the internet, so it must be true. What's up, guys? It's Devin Harrington, the average Gen Xer, and welcome back to my channel, where today we are going to talk about the age-old trope that just about every child-free person, man or woman, has been bingoed with. If you're unfamiliar, a bingo is like a gotcha statement. And that is, you're gonna die alone.
Oh, no!
So, for example, when someone asks me, how many kids do you have, Dev? And I say, oh, I don't have any kids. I never wanted kids. And I'm too old to have kids now. So I definitely will never, ever be having children because I didn't want to. And they'll say, oh, well, you're going to die alone. Like, that's supposed to change my mind? And yet, this bingo, this statement, this threat, which is what it actually is to try and scare you into reproducing so someone can be there to hold your hand if by chance you get to grow old and be in a bed where other people can visit you when you are on your deathbed. That's why you had kids? Let's talk about it. But first, on every video on this channel, I plead with all animal lovers out there, please consider fostering or volunteering on site for your local animal shelter or rescue. I guarantee just about anywhere you are in the world, there's a shelter or a rescue nearby that would love to have your help. So if you love animals, please consider helping out. This is little Pearl. She and her sister. All right, Pearl, you can get down. And here's her sister, who is even bigger. Look at the size of those mitts. And this is Dottie. And I have these two girls. I had 3 of them. Their brother got adopted. Oh, are you jealous? So if you love animals, please do your little part to help save the world. Do it for the animals. Thanks. Okay, so this first post is by user ladderflounder7926. It's titled, I didn't know dying was supposed to be a group activity. And it's a rant. As it should be. I was at a family gathering last weekend when the usual topic came up. You know the one, kids. My aunt looked at me with that concerned face people use when they think they're giving you deep life wisdom and said, you should really have a child, otherwise you're going to die alone. And I just sat there thinking, wait, what? Since when was dying supposed to be a group activity? Like, is there a sign-up sheet I missed? A bring a +1 to your deathbed policy? The way people say it, you'd think having kids guarantees some cozy scene where you're surrounded by loving family, holding your hand while soft music plays. But in reality, I've seen the opposite happen plenty of times. People with multiple kids who barely visit them, families who fight over inheritance before the person is even gone, adult children who live across the country and can't make it in time. Having children isn't some magical anti-loneliness insurance policy. Oh my God, say it again for the people in the back row. Meanwhile, I know child-free people with strong friendships, partners, siblings, chosen family, amen, communities, people who actually want to be there for them. Also, the logic itself is wild to me. Imagine creating an entire human being just so you don't feel lonely decades later during the final chapter of your life. I know it's absurd to say that out loud. And this whole concept of if you don't have children, you will die alone, surely is from the earlier part of the 20th century, when you needed to have a bunch of kids around to help you with the farm and yada yada, the store, whatever. But we don't live in that world anymore. And anyone who works in a nursing home will tell you there are people with dozens of kids in the nursing home and no one comes to see them, or it's very rare. Don't make me tell the story of my grandmother one more time on this channel. I'll spare you guys. They go on. I told my aunt something like, if the goal is just to not be alone when I die, I feel like there are easier ways than raising a human for 20 plus years. she didn't laugh. Honestly, she didn't laugh because that trope has been going for so long that she expected you to be put in your place by it. Except she got put in her place because that world doesn't exist anymore, Auntie. We have all woken up to the fact that motherhood is a scam, marriage is a scam, and women know their own mind. And if they don't want to be married or have kids, that is their choice. Nobody is falling for the you're going to die alone. Oh, well, let me run right out and get pregnant with triplets so I can make sure that I don't die alone. I mean, it is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Honestly, the older I get, the more I realize people say this stuff because they're uncomfortable with anyone making a different life choice than they did. Yes, absolutely. No child-free woman has ever heard the statement, oh, you're not having kids, you're going to die alone, from someone who doesn't have regrets about the life they've lived. You raise kids and it's stressful. We all know that. But they fell for the notion that you have to have kids, or they wanted kids and it wasn't what they thought it was going to be, or whatever. But they are basically threatening you to try and get you to go over to their side so they can feel better about their choice. They go on. It's easier to frame child-free people as tragic or doomed than to accept that there are multiple ways to live a fulfilling life. So yeah, if I end up dying someday, oh, shocking, I know, maybe I'll be alone, maybe I won't. But that seems like a weird reason to create a person. Life isn't a rehearsal for your deathbed attendance list. Oh my God. Ma'am, sir, ma'am, you are brilliant. Ladder flounder. What a brilliant post. The comments on here, Unfair Risk commented, I think a lot of people assume that every death is going to be in a hospital with family gathered around you crying and wishing you well. When my grandma got really sick, everyone was taking turns staying near her bedside. She ended up passing away 5 minutes after my aunt left for the night. Yeah, and that is one of the most common things that you hear with regard to dying, is that even the people who are dying in the nursing home and they've got someone with them constantly during visiting hours, it's like they just wait. Nobody wants to die with people standing over you. You don't want your loved ones to have to see you die. We don't have to do that. And I think a lot of people feel that way. They don't want to put that pressure on their loved ones. And so somehow they wait. My grandma died in a nursing home at night alone in her sleep, luckily. And it was about a week and a half after I had flown home and visited her in the nursing home for the first time. And she was in decent, for someone in a nursing home with Parkinson's with dementia, who's in a wheelchair, she was still fairly independent. She would not let anyone feed her. She'd feed herself, etc. She was not really with it. But when I said goodbye to her and I said, I love you, Graham, this is the craziest thing that ever happened in my life. She had her head turned and she was just rambling nonsense. And all of a sudden, it was like for a second, she came back and she turned to me and smiled. And if you know anyone who has Parkinson's, there's that expressionless face that is a symptom of it. And so they don't often smile. So she turned to me and smiled, and it was like she was Graham again for a second. And she said, I love you too. And then the veil came down and she went back to rambling. But it was insane. But I bring that up because it was like she was waiting for me to come and see her. And once I had been there, I left that nursing home thinking, oh, she's going to live a long time in this nursing home. Like, I'm going to come, the next time I come, I'll come and visit her. Of course I will. And she went in her sleep by herself because most people do. And particularly women. I've read studies, like a lot of women will just wait, even if they're unconscious, we don't know what you can hear in your brain. So it's really crazy, that we go through all of this bullshit, being scared to die alone for nothing. It's for nothing. And most of the time, the person dies when you're not there because they don't want to fucking die in front of you. All right, I'll stop rambling. But I should say, like, the same goes for horses. This is what this reminds me of. When a mare is pregnant and is about to give birth, if you're a horse breeder, the trainer or whoever wants to be there and make sure everything goes okay. And I have known mares that would drop that baby in the 20 minutes where the trainer went in to eat lunch because the mare had learned the human schedule. And she doesn't want to give birth in front of some guy watching her. So anyway, with my stepdad, he had an aneurysm and died on the beach. Good for him, which I think is a pleasant way to go because he didn't feel any pain. And then he was in a beautiful location doing something that he loved. Yeah, an aneurysm is not a bad way to go. Just boom, lights out. No pain, no suffering, no lingering. You're just done. And to have that happen on a beach, well done, sir. I hope you had a margarita in your hand. I know someone who had no children who was surrounded by friends they made as they passed. I know people who had tons of kids and died in a horrific car crash. People need to recognize that death is not beautiful or easy or clean, certainly. And we have zero control over it. Well, maybe not zero. Obviously, we can keep ourselves alive in the long run by doing certain things. But as far as when your time is going to come, could be anytime. I have a friend who is 53 and is on his deathbed with a very rare leukemia. And he doesn't deserve that. He was not expecting that. And the injustice of it all is what I have a problem with, because the people who deserve to die of a rare cancer just never do, All right, moving on. Total Fan Freak 2012 said, this is going to be my aunt. My aunt has 4 kids and 7 grandkids and is on hospice. Instead of watching her, they stuck cameras in the house. Like that's going to do anything. God. See, this whole trope of the family surrounding you at your death is kind of an outdated notion. And I'm not saying that no one's family should gather around them on their deathbed. Of course you should, if you want to, if the person wants you to. Does anyone ever ask their dying relative, hey, do you want us to sit around and watch you take your last gasp of air while you're semi-conscious or unconscious or, high as fuck on morphine? I mean, I don't want anybody there. I'd love to know, who are these people that are actually influenced by this, if you don't have kids, you're going to die alone kind of thing? Do people actually have kids so that they feel throughout their life that they won't die alone? It makes no sense to me. The official app sucks says, my cousin died of cancer. Her daughter and my mother were there every minute she was in hospice. She didn't die alone. It took days. The facility was very good, but it didn't matter how much medication they pumped in. The last moments of death are rarely dignified. My cousin would sink into unconsciousness near death, somewhat peaceful moments, but kept coming out of it. Half the time, she didn't even know they were there. She was a vocal one. She begged, and I think she must have screamed because my mother came back haunted. Her daughter took a long time to get her footing. My mother eventually talked about it, but she played it down that my cousin got loud and moved along in the retelling. You might very well die surrounded by family and the ability to say your last goodbye, but that's a monkey's paw wish. That's not usual the actual point of death. There's every chance you'll be insensible, probably scar your family for life, and still feel alone at the end. Oh, plus the smell. Yikes. It's not pretty or clean or graceful. It's why physician-assisted death is even a thing. Yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, if I contract a horrible disease, you bet your ass I'm going out on my own time. I am not going to linger and suffer. We don't let a single animal do that. We don't let our pets suffer and die. We take them and give them a dignified, peaceful death because we love them. So we should be able to do the same for the humans that we love. In my humble opinion. Okay, next post, and this is from the great subreddit Fence Sitter for people who haven't made up their minds if they want to have children or not. This post is from Alternative Cap, and it's called A Perspective on Dying Alone. Trigger warning, death, obviously. I recently spent the last week of my grandma's life with her in a hospice. Oh, that must be so hard. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done emotionally, as I was very close to her. Wow. It has really made me reflect on family, love, and life's meaning. My husband and I are currently child-free, although part of us are still unsure if we are 100% committed to that due to the fear of missing out on one of life's greatest experiences. I thought spending so much time witnessing my loved one's dying journey would help me come to a final closure, like I would suddenly realize I should have a kid after all. What has struck me is the love that she was surrounded with from her family and friends. What helped us through it? Sharing memories and hugs. She also was taken care of so well by the hospice team. They were incredible. Yeah, bless anyone. I have an aunt who has worked in hospice several times over the years for a long time, and it takes a special kind of person to be in that field. So bless everyone who has the courage to work in hospice. They go on, but on reflection, I'm not sure being surrounded by family matters as much as we think. Everyone is different, of course, but I think the love is a comfort for those left behind more than it is for the person who is ill. No one can say objectively what a dying person's experience is, but generally you'll be so sleepy and in and out of consciousness, I'm not sure you're aware what's going on most of the time. If anything, you may be thinking and dreaming of past loved ones you'll be seeing again. That's true. I have also read, now, I read it on the internet, so it must be true, that when a person is dying, that they will start having conversations with their loved ones who have passed. And they say the room gets crowded. Now, whether or not that's true, I hope it is true, because I really want my grandparents and all the people I loved who have passed to come and take my ass away when it's time. It is hard to talk about death. Like, I'm making jokes, but the truth is we're all going to get our turn. Every last motherfucking one of us. And it's not always going to be laying in a bed. I mean, I hope I die in bed, asleep, sound asleep, in the middle of the night when there's no one there. They go on. I think this is the same for funerals because I got sad thinking that not many people will show up for mine. It's very common now not to have any service. I think the fact that society as a whole is becoming less and less religious and more aware of how expensive everything is. I mean, you have to admit the death business is probably like the world's second oldest profession. Funerals, even just basic cremation in a cardboard box, costs way more than you think it does. And yes, the funeral is for the people left behind. The dead person doesn't give a shit. They're dead. They're out. They don't even have to think about any human stuff anymore, if they're thinking at all. Personally, I vote for reincarnation, but who knows? To my loved ones left behind, I think it does. I think it will be sad for them, but it won't matter to me. In general, I think ego is at play a lot when it comes to these topics. I don't think the fear of dying alone should be a factor in the decision making. Thanks for listening to my reflections. Well, they were very eye-opening, very good. Nature Kafer said, "Thank you for your thoughts. I sometimes find this 'then you'll die alone' almost like an unpleasant threat from other people. It is totally a threat. They are jealous that you chose not to have children, so you're not going to have to deal with any of the bullshit they have to put up with raising children, or had to. And so they threaten you with 'you'll die alone' to make you feel bad for making the right choice for you. If making the right choice for them was raising a family, What are they so upset about? And they don't have any guarantee that they're not going to die alone. I'm just going to keep screaming this into the void until the culture starts to change. So I'll be on YouTube until my death, probably. They go on. But I also notice this fear myself from time to time. There's often a quiet inner voice that says, so what? What's so bad about dying alone? No shit. You were born alone. I mean, even if you're a twin or a triplet or whatever, you come out one at a time, right? So what's the problem with dying alone? This saying must come from a time when having a big family showed you were successful in life. You know, I mean, maybe that's what it shows now, but it just seems to me like such an outdated statement or line of thinking. I'm really surprised that we still hear this. They go on. Then arguments immediately follow that humans are social beings and so on. Personally, I've been a loner my whole life. I do like having people around me, but deep down, I prefer being alone. Same person, same. I could easily imagine that when I'm dying, I would want people, caregivers would suffice, who are available to help me with pain, etc. But deep down, I would actually prefer to experience my last breaths alone. Yes, if you have any consciousness at the moment of your death, the final moments of your life, that you are able to reflect, wouldn't you want to? Do you want to just stare blankly back at the people staring at you? And I mean, they say a lot of families have to tell the dying person, it's okay to let go. You can go. We're okay. But I think they're hanging on because you're there, you know, like fucking leave and let them have their death moment to themselves. They go on. And another thought I keep having is that my relationship with my own parents is, unfortunately, difficult. We love each other, but there's never been any physical intimacy, so everything is rather cold. So how do you say that you love each other? It doesn't sound like love. I mean, it sounds like duty. Honestly, I'm already worried that it will be awkward standing at my parents' deathbed and not being able to show them any emotional connection, but I'm still their child and I love them. So thank you for your thoughts. And the OP responded, I understand what you mean about it being a thinly veiled threat from people, meaning to scare you into having children. It pins a complex topic and lifelong decision onto a future moment in time. It's not that relevant, in my opinion, and in mine. God, you people are brilliant. Brilliant, I tell you. KTV13 said, I always found the dying alone argument nonsense. Like, if you notice, the actual time of death isn't when you make those loving memories and connections and live life together. That's what matters. Life together. When you had those great times with your grandma, when she made you your favorite meal and hugged you, that's what it's about. I'm getting teary-eyed thinking of my grandma. My grandma, one of my favorite memories with my grandma was I was home visiting, and she was watching the movie King Arthur from like 2002, Keira Knightley and Clive Owen. It's my favorite King Arthur. And it was her favorite, one of her favorite movies. And it just happened to be on. And I happened to be there. And so we sat there and drank red wine and watched King Arthur. And I still think of that memory fondly. And that's what it is about. They go on. I actually hopped off the fence after my granddad died, not because of the fear of dying alone, but because it felt odd to have no more life come after me and my husband. Kids are messy and annoying, but they also bring life. They are the next generation, and only through the human relation we actually derive most of our meaning in life. Yes, I get your point, sir or madam, but there's too many people in the world. You don't need to have kids. Your life is your life. Your kid's life is their life. It's not your life going on. Shut up, Dev. Friends, partners, even a pet. So you don't have to have a child to feel that meaning, but it's certainly one choice. Yes, it's one choice. It's not the choice. I agree. Charismatic Tick said, I agree. I also can't live my life to be happy on my deathbed. I want to be happy throughout my life, even if it means being unhappy and lonely the final moments of my life. Yeah, who fucking cares? I also think being surrounded by loved ones will make that moment suck a little less. I don't want to be watched. Death is messy and ugh. But on the flip side, giving birth also sucks. So if someone doesn't have kids, they will only have that one shitty moment. If they even have that at all. You know, you could die in an instant in a million different ways and not even have time to feel lonely. Also, too much can happen through a lifetime, so having a child isn't a guarantee that you'll be happy 60 years from now. Maybe AI and new medications makes dying super chill. Maybe your kid dies before you. Maybe they move to Australia. I'm currently pregnant after years of fence sitting, but dying alone was never a factor in that choice. Okay, from the child-free subreddit by user PolarBear1962, this is a discussion titled Dying Alone. And she did leave an edit up here, which I'll read later. You know how one of the more frequent bingos is, oh, you don't want kids? You're going to die alone. I had a super interesting conversation with my massage therapist today that made me think about this. We were swapping stories about older family members who have passed, and she said her dad was all about family, and when he wasn't doing well, all the kids came from out of town to be with him. Of course, when they took a break and left for a meal, he then died. She said she was initially upset, obviously, but then said that one of her siblings is a nurse and pointed out that this tends to happen more often than you think and that people often die by themselves, even if family was around somewhere. Maybe you all already think about this, but I don't really care who's going to be there when I take my last breath. I wish this wasn't weaponized against us child-free folks so much. Yeah, like I said, it's a 20th century notion, tactic. I wish I had a better vocabulary. I freaking wish I didn't have menopausal brain fog too, because it's really wrecking my buzz. But I digress. Personally, I'm religious, and the thought of a chaplain or someone to usher me into the next world is a nice thought if I'm hospitalized and on my deathbed. Yeah, that's an if. It's a big if. And the thing is, none of us know what's going to be our cause of death or when. And that's okay. That's what it's meant to be. You don't see any animal feeling angst about how it happens to die. It's only humans that have these stupid thoughts that are just, like someone said in these posts, ego-driven. We still have this old-fashioned notion that lying in bed, preferably in your house, but maybe in a hospital as a more modern scenario, or a hospice, and the more people you have around you who are your blood relatives, for some reason it's got to be family, it's got to be children and grandchildren and everybody that's got shares any amount of your DNA has got to be there when you die. I mean, it just sounds ridiculous to describe that. And it's just not practical anymore for most people, I would say. KFitz21 said senior homes are full of people whose kids don't visit them. I don't see how this is a gotcha comment. I'd reiterate that if that is the only reason you had kids was for your own comfort X amount of years from now, that is kind of selfish. No, that is all the way selfish. I lived alone for many years and thrived. Living alone and being alone does not mean you're lonely. Exactly. I think people's need for social interaction is a spectrum, like everything else about the human body and mind. And there are plenty of people that are pretty far down the hermit spectrum, the hermit end of the spectrum, that don't mind being alone. I love to be alone. Nothing is better than having my headphones in with a podcast going. You know, I mean, I do always have animals around me, so maybe I'm not alone because of that. But I have had periods of time when I had my own place and I didn't have any pets. And I loved that. Loved it. Loved it. So, yes, living alone, being alone doesn't mean you're lonely. It really depends on the person. Forsaken Language said, child free, single by choice. Love that flair. Yep, people seem to forget this. Your kids could have kids of their own, or become bogged down with work, or move hundreds or thousands of miles away, or just decide that they can't be bothered. There's no guarantees that having children will mean you won't die alone. And as someone said, we all technically die alone in any case. I'm fine with dying alone anyway. Yeah, like, I really want someone to say that to me now. I got to go around and tell everybody I see, I don't have any kids until I hit the person that's going to say, oh, you're going to die alone. Oh, do you promise? Oh, I hope so. Oh, God, please let me die alone. KFitz21 said, yes, I was blessed to be by my mom's side when she passed. My dad had a sudden heart attack and was at home, but no one was around. We aren't guaranteed time to say goodbye to our family, with or without kids. Exactly. And do you need to say goodbye? Just love them, and love is an action. Show your love to the people you love and the animals you love. You don't need to say goodbye. You can say, see you later. Cosmic J said, this is just my view, so don't take it as advice, but I want to be the old lady that people visit. Okay, so fine. Maybe get involved in communities so that when I'm in critical condition, they'll check up on me. Yeah, it's crazy to me that we're having this, even though this is a very needed discussion. I'm surprised that we aren't past this yet. I'm surprised that the simple logic of whether or not you have children doesn't determine if you're going to die alone. And if you don't have children, you are making friends your whole life and being involved in things. I think that whoever came up with this, you're going to die alone, is someone whose entire identity was being a parent. I guess I always assumed I would not grow old and die in a bed in a hospice somewhere, but you never know. But if that does happen, I have a gazillion friends. I'm a Libra. I pick up friends everywhere I go. And as we all know, your friends are the family you get to choose. So everybody's got a family. What is this ridiculousness that one man, one woman, and they must reproduce, and that is a family? That ain't it anymore, kid. What the fuck am I even talking about? Okay, let's close this out. Napalm Candy said, and their flair happens to be non-binary, they, them pronouns, sterilized, January 24th, 2025. Good for you. Technically, we all die alone. Even if someone's holding your hand, you're crossing over by yourself. Even if you die next to someone else dying, who's to say they're there with you exactly when you die, if there's a there to be in? Personally, after watching my pets die, I'm good not scarring someone for life with that. And the OP responded, right? That's my thought too. I don't want to put anyone I know and love through that. Yeah, I think that's the reason why a lot of people pass when the room is empty. That's going to be my plan if I get there. But yeah, let's keep this conversation going, because these are like brand new posts. This shit just still goes on, and we just got to keep talking about it. And that is what I have for you today, guys. So please, please let me know what you think about the whole concept of people still today say, you don't have kids, you're going to die alone. It seems so illogical and outdated to me. But let me know what you think. Have you ever been at the bedside of someone you loved who was dying? Medical professionals out there, what's it like? I personally have never been with someone when they died, and I kind of am glad about that, other than my animals that I have given a dignified and peaceful death to. Anyway, if you like this video, please like it, hype it, subscribe to the channel. I do content on the child-free movement, on the women choosing to be single, on Alexandra Rodriguez, because she just gets on my last nerve. So check out the playlists and see if I have something to offer you that you might like. In any case, thank you to everyone who stops by to hear me talk shit on the internet, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.